Ladies and gentlemen, you might find the title of this segment bizarre, but using basic logic, basic critical thinking skills, this isn't rocket science. If they make these outlandish allegations against Trump, if they say that he caused the tragedy of 6 months ago, okay, if he caused that tragedy, then he should be indicted. He should be charged. Why haven't Pelosi and Democrats and the mayor of D.C. and the attorney general of D.C. leveled charges at President Trump or Merrick Garland? The federal government hasn't leveled charges or indicted Trump. We can go back. He was never indicted or charged with colluding alongside a foreign power, a hostile foreign nation. They couldn't find any evidence to actually back up their absurd tinfoil hat theories in court. So they had a Mueller probe. Now there's a commission. They're going to investigate Trump, that New York is investigating. They have his tax returns. They didn't find a financial labyrinth that only like Al Capone and... He's not the orange Al Capone. So the Mueller probe found nothing. They didn't indict or charge President Trump, not even with obstruction. They did not charge or indict President Trump for his role in January, despite the emotional testimony. They then said, then you have a bizarre, you have so many bizarre allegations, but then they said, well, he was hiding this vast financial, this deceitful endeavor with like he had money linked to Putin, so therefore he was compromised. They found nothing. That was the original rationale for getting his tax returns. They said that he was compromised because he owed money to the Kremlin. That didn't work out. Give me an accusation that they can actually prove in a court of law. Now they're saying that he disparaged the officers, which couldn't be further from the truth. It was a Daily Beast article that cited a source. There's no evidence. It was like the Atlantic article that said sources say that he disparaged fallen Americans. There are now most of the stories about Trump are from books or sources. You don't find any story about President Biden from books or sources. So I find it very interesting that, this is like a story that people should, or this is something that people should really focus on. You should always ask why he hasn't been indicted. If you have the don't ever debate anyone who has derangement issues pertaining to Trump. Don't do it. But if you have to, okay, ask why he hasn't been indicted. Why haven't they leveled charges at him? Because they want to extract every ounce of political utility, every ounce of political expediency or benefit. They just want to, in a public relations, in a vapid public relations type of manner, all they want to do is just focus on what Trump could have done, how close he is to criminality, but never prove any criminality in a court of law. In the minds of Democrats and morally superior liberals, he's a criminal, but they just can't prove it. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is a very important segment. By the way, to the people who've shown super thanks, I want to thank you, Michael LaRusso. Thank you. There are others that I've thanked already, but I want to thank Michael LaRusso and JM Seattle. Thank you so very much. There's a super thanks button if you want to support this channel and my work. It's right next to It's to the right of the like button and the share button. Then there's a download, then there's a create, and then there's a thanks. So it's a super thanks button right below this video. If you do want to support my work and this channel, I'll give you a shout out. And I just thank you for your support. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like very wealthy Democratic socialists who, by the way, are facing a discrimination case right now. So your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. I'm always going upstream or swimming upstream. I told you from the very beginning that Trump Russia was complete and utter nonsense. Most other YouTube channels, well, on the left, but most of media, including YouTube channels, were telling you, oh yeah, Trump could might have worked with Russia. It was complete nonsense from the very beginning. The analysis and my thought process, or the things that I talk about on this channel, oftentimes people don't talk about. I told you about how harmful and absurd a certain type of message board was. Thank God nobody listens to that nonsense. But from day one, you can see the debate on hagoodman.com. I said it was very harmful and could only lead to catastrophe, and that nobody should believe message boards. I was 100% right. There are a lot of things. The impeachments were complete nonsense because, like I said, they couldn't prove their allegations in a court of law. So then they said, well, impeachment's a political tool. Well, everything they do is just for politics and PR and media hype. They get into this frenzy and this hysteria, and they have this fanatical zeal when it comes to opposing Trump, even if the truth is at stake. So if President Trump is right about something, they will side with the wrong vantage point simply to oppose Trump. It's like a psychological problem that people have. We can talk about things that he was right about, like the origins of what. President Trump was a good president, a very good president. He single-handedly reversed U.S. foreign policy. He negotiated a deal to bring Americans home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. He was the first president since Carter not to begin a new theater of military conflict. And we had record low unemployment, record low Black and Latino unemployment. He actually got a greater percentage of the non-white vote than any Republican candidate in 60 years. And then if the rebuttal is, well, that's not exactly true, Bush got a better, well, okay. He did better among the non-white vote than he did even in 2016. So the constant propaganda against Trump didn't work. Had he stayed off Twitter like last year, history would be different right now. But we have a Republican Party that the Never-Trumpers will be primaried out in 2022. Trump was a good president, a very good president. He accomplished more in a short time period than President Obama did in 8 years. Definitely more than Bush did. I mean, that's obvious. You can look at his accomplishments. Being the first president to step foot in North Korea is a major foreign policy achievement. You have prison reform legislation that he signed. You had an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. Like I said, he single-handedly, there's a reason the Lincoln Project opposes Trump. You understand that Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the Lincoln Project, and your favorite left-leaning YouTuber all vote Democrat? If the Lincoln Project, Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld foreign policy hawks, and Bernie Sanders vote Democrat, what does that tell you about the Democratic Party? And when Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigns in disgrace for cheating Bernie Sanders, what does that tell you about the Democratic Party? Anyway, give me your thoughts below. It's a point that I've made a million times over, and I'm just going to continue to make these points. He's not arrested now. Trump isn't arrested. He'll never be arrested. And he'll never be indicted or charged with anything. Because if they could have done that, they would have. Their only goal for the past 5 years has been to knock him out politically. But they can't find any criminal behavior. Otherwise, they would prove it in the court of law, and they can't do that. All they can do is just accuse him endlessly of things he hasn't done. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. I will have a live stream later today, probably around 9 or 10 p.m. Pacific. If you want to support this channel via the super thanks, I will be extremely thankful, and I'll give you a shout out next segment.